are taking away that health care from 22 million Americans. This is not the way to send families into Thanksgiving and Christmas. This is not the way we should be treating people. We're the wealthiest country in the history of the world. Yale University has made it very clear that 50,000 people additionally are going to die per year if all of Trump's health care cuts go into place. That's 500,000 people dying over the next 10 years if these health care premiums, if Medicaid is slashed. That's on this body. That's on this Senate. That's on the Republican leadership. And all I can say to you is that this is a mistake. It's an historic mistake. It's cruel. It's wrong. It's not what we should be doing to those who are most vulnerable, most in need in our country. And that's is what the Republicans are about to perpetrate upon this country. We're better than this. You can't have trillions of dollars in tax breaks for the wealthiest and then saying we don't have enough money for those who are sickest. You only have room for a tax break after you've taken care of the sickest people, the people most in need of health care in our society. That's when you have room for tax breaks for billionaires. The Republicans are doing just the opposite. First, tax breaks for billionaires. Then we'll see what's left over. Oh, they say, we can't afford health care for 22 million Americans.
Basically get the crumbs that fall from the master's tables to the poorest of the poor, the third class, second class citizens.
That's why you don't have enough money. And who are you going to take? Who are you going to take it out on? Who are you going to say all of a sudden with your green eye shades that you're really concerned about the federal budget deficit? You're going to take it out upon those who are least healthy, those most in need of help in our society? No, we're better than that. So this is a historic mistake. But just remember, the Republicans have always harbored an ancient animosity towards Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. They voted against all of those programs. And now with Donald Trump, they have an ability to gut them. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. When they had a chance to stand up and say, no, let's be reasonable, let's keep the healthcare subsidies, which are most needed, they just are walking away right now. Donald Trump operates under Godfather Part 1 rules. He gives them offers they can't refuse. And we saw that with senators who tried to stand up to say, no, the Medicaid cuts are too deep. The Affordable Care Act cuts are too deep. Trump just called them and said, your career is over. You will not be a senator again. So now we're seeing the remaining senators who are here, who are Republicans. And they are just saying, whatever you want, Mr. Trump, whatever Russell Vogt wants at OMB, whatever Stephen Miller wants, we'll do. We're not going to have a negotiation. We're not going to sit down. So before they cut the Medicaid and the Medicare programs back in July, did they negotiate with us? No, they did not. They refused to negotiate with Democrats at all. That's who they are. They saw their one opportunity to slash it once and for all. So all I can say is that we're in an incredible moment. The Republican House members still are not back in Washington. They've been in a 6-week witness protection program. They refuse to come back to Washington. They refuse to sit down. They refuse to negotiate. So we're witnessing Robin Hood in reverse. We're seeing money taken from the poorest and given to the richest. That's what this is all about. And what they're taking from the poorest and the middle class are their health care. It's their protections. So from my perspective, this is a mistake. It's a historic mistake. And it is a mistake that will come back to haunt the Republican Party at the ballot box next year. With that, Mr. President, I yield back.
Mr. President, During the course of tonight's debate, we'll be voting on whether to table.
Mr. President. Senator from Wyoming.
I yield back all debate time.
Without objection. The clerk will report the motion to invoke cloture.
Cloture motion. We, the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, do hereby move to bring to a closed debate on Calendar 168, H.R. 5371, an act making continuing appropriations and extensions for fiscal year 2026 and for other purposes, as amended, signed by 17 senators.
Under the previous order, the mandatory quorum call under Rule 22 has been waived. The question is it the sense of the Senate that debate on H.R. 5371, an act making continuing appropriations and extension for fiscal year 2026 and for other purposes shall be brought to a close? The yeas and nays are mandatory under the rule. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Also Brooks.
The Senate is now holding its second-to-last vote to reopen the government on advancing the legislation to final passage. 60 votes are needed. The bill would reopen the government and continue funding until January 30th. It also reverses a Trump administration policy to lay off federal workers and pay furloughed employees during this 41-day shutdown. The funding package also includes 3 full-year spending bills that would fund military construction projects and the VA, the Agriculture Department, including SNAP benefits, and Congress, including the Capitol Police, for 2026. The bill also guarantees a vote in December on extending expiring Affordable Care Act healthcare subsidies. Most Democrats wanted the extension included in the bill.
This is what I got to say to my viewers. Those who are deeply concerned about all this and those who seek knowledge beyond normalcy. It says in the Bible, in the first part of Revelation, that I will not put upon to thee none other burden. Hold fast till I come. Obviously, because of the decisions that's been made by various presidential administrations, it has put a burden upon to this presidency such as was never designed to have. Because of that, we are seeing absolutely unprecedented events happening because of what's happened in the past 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 presidencies going back in time. Once more, what does the Bible say? The Bible says that I will not put upon to thee none other burden. Hold fast till I come. This is a burden that's been placed upon to the American government. Now it's up to us. To face the challenges thereof.
So outraged by the fact that Republicans have refused to lift a finger to save so many families from the skyrocketing health care premiums all year long. I voted no on last night's vote because I believe we do need to address health care costs before we move forward. There is simply no time left to kick the can down the road when it comes to saving the ACA tax credits. We are already 10 days into enrollment. Yet we have Republicans saying, why should we stop premiums from skyrocketing when we never really wanted lower premiums in the first place? We have Republicans talking about going back to the good old days of high-risk pools, which meant people with cancer could not get health insurance. We have Speaker Johnson bragging that Republicans strengthened health care by making the biggest cut to Medicaid in history.
See, these are the things that we was warned about in the 70s pertaining to the internet, that eventually it will become so transparent that insurance companies will be able to pick and choose towards who's a low risk, who's a moderate risk, versus who's a high risk, versus who they're going to cover versus who they're not going to cover. And it was very, very concerning in the 70s and throughout the 80s pertaining to where we was heading. Well, now we're no longer heading in that direction, but now we're in the middle of the storm. The middle of the perfect storm has been brought upon to the American people because of inadequate decisions that's been made by prior presidencies before this one. And to add insult to injury, this presidency that we're in right now is trying to abolish, erase, reconform this nation in its mistakes that it's made. And it can't be done. It cannot be done. The only thing that can be done is to erase the debt and to start all over again. And I continue to keep saying that by using the farmer as an analogy, that once he plants the crop and only about half of it comes up, he's got two choices. He can either leave it like it is, or he can take a risk towards disking it all under and replanting and hoping the second time that the crops, the yield, the harvest will be better than what it was the first time.
Care hike. Now, here's the important thing. This fight is not over. Far from it, because I and many of us have no intention of letting Republicans off the hook. No one should doubt for a single second who is to blame for the skyrocketing healthcare costs, Republicans and Republicans alone. When families across America are paying the price that they will see for Republican inaction every month, I'll make sure every single one of them remembers the same Republicans who did everything in their power to make tax breaks for billionaires permanent, refused to even negotiate 1 year of healthcare tax credits for working families at a tiny fraction of the cost.
Do you really think that's fair? At this point in time, do you really think that that's fair about a smear tactic? I don't think so.
Simple extension to help families. But, Mr. President, I want to be clear. While I cannot vote for this overall deal today, not when we still need to address health care, I do absolutely support the appropriation bills and CR that we will move forward, which do take meaningful steps to reject drastic cuts and extreme policies pushed by both Trump and House Republicans, and make sure that Congress, not Trump, is in charge of federal spending. It is important that Democrats were at the table on the CR and our first three funding bills, and used our spot at that table to fight for hardworking families in America. The difference is clear in the sharp contrast between the bills that were released yesterday and the bills written by the House Republicans and the budget put forward by President Trump. In our bills, Democrats were able to secure real wins for folks back home and fight off painless, senseless cuts and extreme policy. On the CR, we made sure to protect federal workers, both by ensuring that they...
I go back to the farmers. The farmers ain't looking for a free handout. They're looking for a workout. They're looking for somebody to work out the agreement to making sure that next year's crops that they put in the ground will in fact have a market that they can go to that will be compatible with the rest of the markets all over the world. They're not looking for free handouts. We need solutions to the problem. Kicking the can down the road and saying, well, we're going to offer you a stimulus subsidy check, or we're going to help you out this year. Then we're going to have to go through the same old again next year, depending upon how bad, how good Mother Nature treats us. Come on. We have went through this song and dance again and again and again.
And I want to thank Chair Hoeven and Ranking Member Shaheen for all of their good work on that vital bill for our communities. In the military construction and veterans affairs bills, we were able to secure funding to make sure we're taking care of our veterans and our service members, and ensure that this administration keeps its promises to our veterans by ensuring staffing of critical services such as the crisis hotline centers. I want to thank Chair Bozeman and Ranking Member Ossoff for all their good work on this critical bill for our veterans and service members. And lastly, on the legislative branch bill, which is the smallest bill, it covers the important needs of this institution, from protecting GAO and CBO, the architect of the Capitol, our Capitol Police, and other agencies that actually make this place work, to make sure our offices have what they need to take care of our constituents and keep our campus safe. We should all appreciate the hard work that went into completing that bill, and I want to thank Chair Mullen and Ranking Member Heinrich for all their work on that important bill and the critical matters within it to every senator in this chamber. Now, those are not the bills I would have written on my own. I have concerns we were not able to address in these bills, and Republicans were not open to some of them. But I still want to do more, Mr. President, when it comes to delivering critical investments for our communities and our country. And I will, as always, keep pushing my colleagues every day. But we did secure real wins for folks back home when Democrats and Republicans were able to sit down at the table together on funding. And they are immeasurably better than Trump and vote holding the pen, which is what the slush fund CR that we have been operating on this year has allowed. I'm proud of what we have been able to negotiate to protect key programs families and communities rely on, and protect our authority as lawmakers who are here to be a voice for our constituents. I want to emphasize that I really appreciate the work of my counterpart, the senior senator from Maine, Susan Collins, who's done incredible work on all these bills. I want to thank our subcommittee chairs and ranking members and all of our staff who worked hard to put these bills together. And I want to make clear, I deeply appreciate the partnership of my colleagues on the Senate Appropriations Committee who've all worked in good faith during these very difficult times and these very difficult negotiations. No matter what, these bills need to get done. And our staff put in late nights, and our chairs and ranking members held countless conversations that compromise and work towards solutions. I hope to continue building on that progress and showing what it does look like when we come together and put families before politics. I look forward to getting our next minibus up on the floor to move multiple needed bills along that we have marked up in the committee and get those to conference. And I hope we can be on that package as soon as possible. I look forward to working with the senator from Maine and working to get those final bills completed so they too can be conferenced with the House as soon as possible. And I want to thank all of our committee members and staffs for their incredible work on these critical bills. We have a lot of work ahead, and I know we can get there. Passing full-year funding bills to ensure that Congress, not Trump or Russ vote, decides how taxpayer dollars are spent. We should never turn the keys over to Trump and his cabinet secretaries, allowing them to make unilateral cuts and to shift funding around however they please. Every day, they prove in a new way how critical it is that Congress assert its authority and rein in their chaos, and I will continue to do that on the Appropriations Committee. But I also, Mr. President, need to continue fighting to stop the mega healthcare hike for as long as there is still time left on this clock to fix this. The reality is there is a point where it will be too late to make a meaningful difference. But until we reach that point of no return, we do have to fight tooth and nail to force Republicans to actually work with us on that issue. And because in this path...
Good luck to you, ma'am. Good luck to you towards working with all these shysters that now it's come back to haunt us regarding those who have made poor decisions for us all in the past. Good luck to you, ma'am, because I feel like that you're truly going to need it.
The 41st day of an entirely unnecessary government shutdown, a shutdown that never should have occurred, a shutdown that has caused tremendous harm to the American people, to our national security, to our entire country. A shutdown that has resulted in federal employees being furloughed, laid off, or forced to work without compensation.
The thing about it is, what you're seeing right now is on the upper end pertaining to the federal end. This is counterreacting pertaining to the state and them not being able to reconformed their figures properly, furloughs and etc. And certain states actually has laws, such as Georgia, I'm just going to throw them out there real quick, that at the end of the year, they have to balance their budget. They have to. And if not, it becomes a criminal offense.
Law. And I'm also very pleased that we were able to fully fund 3 appropriations bills that passed with overwhelming bipartisan support on August 1st. So I thank my colleagues. I know of no other requests for time, and I would yield back the remaining time.
Without objection. Under the previous order, the clerk will read the title of the bill for the 3rd time.
Calendar number 168, H.R. 5371, an act making continuing appropriations and extensions for fiscal year 2026 and for other purposes.
The question occurs on the passage of the bill as amended. Is there sufficient second? There appears to be. Clerk will call a roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks.
Okay, you guys are good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You got it. Thank you.
This has been a sham and a disgrace from the beginning, going all the way back to the late 80s, whenever the Reagans and the Bushes done what they done in basically choosing or lying about an entity that had self-destruction bombs that did not have them. I tried desperately in stopping where we are right now. But instead, I got punished. I got persecuted. I got lied upon. I got indignation from this government like you would not even believe. It is so sad in where we are right now.
You're an aye. Thank you. You're an aye. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we go, quick note on my podcast. All There Is new episode releases tomorrow night. My guest this week is country music superstar Kenny Chesney. The podcast is available starting at 8 p.m.
Here tomorrow, Florida Congressman Jared Moskowitz is going to join the conversation. And remember, you can watch clips from the show anytime on YouTube. Just go to msnbc.com/theweeknight. The Rachel Maddow Show starts right now. Hello, Rachel.
Hello, you guys. I was just thinking about the fact that this is the last time I'll get the handoff from you guys here on MSNBC. Next time we do this, we're going to be MS Now.
Oh,
It's going to be
like just
completely,
yesterday.
exactly the same. Sorry, go ahead.
Can't wait to see you next week on MS Now.
At MS Now, exactly. All right, thanks, you guys. Getting ready for it already. I got to tell you, when we make the name change, the big plan is to change absolutely nothing other than the name. But the name this time next week will be MS Now. All right, thanks to home for being with us this hour. Super happy to have you here. Tomorrow is Veterans Day. Veterans Day is not Memorial Day. Memorial Day is the very somber day when we remember and honor people who have sacrificed their lives for this country. Memorial Day happens in the spring. Veterans Day is tomorrow, and Veterans Day is celebratory. It is a not at all somber day where we celebrate with parades and parties and all different ways to honor American veterans, to celebrate them, to say thank you. So, happy Veterans Day, Dad. Tomorrow, this Veterans Day, there's going to be a ton of protests against the Trump administration under the banner of Vets Say No. Tomorrow, protests are planned by veterans groups all over the country in at least 25 different states, everywhere from Alabama to Texas to North Carolina to Ohio, all up and down the West Coast, all throughout the Midwest. It's protests by both veterans and their supporters. The Veterans Day protest in Washington, D.C. tomorrow is is going to be under the banner, Say No to War on Our Cities. The veterans groups organizing these protests say they're particularly focused on cities like Washington, D.C., which Trump has threatened with military occupation in one way or another. This weekend in Illinois at the Broadview ICE facility in Chicago, a group of mothers engaged in civil disobedience on the street outside that facility. They sat down and were arrested in protest of Trump's immigration agents last week, charging into a daycare in their full pseudo-military regalia, charging into a daycare and dragging out a daycare teacher in front of all the little kids at that daycare facility. Later this weekend, after the protest by moms, there was a silent protest at that same Broadview facility with women dressed from Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. We actually saw the same thing this weekend at the Minnesota State Capitol in St. Paul, Minnesota. There were protests this weekend in Waltham, Massachusetts. People marched to the Waltham District Courthouse, which they say is one of the courthouses that's effectively being used as a trap by Trump's immigration agents. People turn up there because they are compelled to as part of the immigration process or some other legal process, and then Trump's immigration agents lay in wait there to arrest people. Protests against Trump and his immigration raids also this weekend at City Hall in Santa Maria, California. Also in Portland, Oregon, another place where Trump has tried to send troops. This weekend in Portland, saw doctors and other medical professionals protesting in their white coats. Also this weekend, a hilarious and very Portland protest of people in full 1980s style aerobics gear. They worked out for a full hour in front of the Broadview ICE facility. They said they were sweating out the fascists. Fair enough. You know what fascists hate? Leg warmers. Protests also this weekend in Bend, Oregon, and in Albany, New York. Fund SNAP, not ICE. In Atlanta, Georgia, protesters marched to the Georgia governor's mansion, telling Governor Brian Kemp to intervene in the shutdown disaster, to use state funds from Georgia to make up the difference in food stamp.
View the presidency as a worldwide situation, not locally. I mean, we could have a world that's on fire where wars come to our shores very easily if you had a bad president. But with all of that, I passed a great, big, beautiful bill, which is the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country. So when somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's now catering to the other side, I don't know what, I guess she's, got some kind of an act going, but I'm surprised at her. But when somebody like Marjorie goes over and starts making statements like that, it shows she doesn't know.
We asked the congresswoman from Georgia her response to the president's comments there. She gave this one-line statement to CNN saying, quote, "I haven't lost my way. I'm 100% America first and only." The divide among the president and supporters like Congresswoman Greene comes as Democrats in the House have been whipping members to vote against the shutdown deal that the Senate is voting on right now. That split in their party between those who support it and those who instead want them to keep fighting is quite stark.
Now, with respect to the senators on the other side of the Capitol, they're going to have to explain themselves.
Staying in a shutdown mode was not getting us anywhere.
There's no way to defend this.
So here we are in a situation, and this was the reality. SNAP recipients suffering, nothing happening on ACA. So from suffering and no path, we've now got robust benefits and a path.
Because that's so pissed off. I'm just frustrated.
So standing up to Donald Trump didn't work.
And my Democratic source tonight is one of the senators who does not support this deal, Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon. And thank you, Senator, for being here, because you just heard your colleague, Senator Angus King. He says standing up to Donald Trump did not work. You said the only way to stop him is to stand up to him. That's a direct quote from you. Which of you do you believe is right tonight?
Yeah, I'm extremely disturbed by what's happening tonight, because a group from our caucus made a deal to end our leverage, which produces simply some vote in the future that won't actually be a bill that has a chance of getting out of the Senate, let alone through the House. And that undercut our effort, for sure, to produce a health care win. And I'm so concerned about those 20 million Americans who see their cost of health insurance on average doubling, but many people seeing 3 or
Skyrocketing.
4 times increase. So many people conveying that they're not going to buy insurance at all. And in order to be effective, you have to be united. And so when a single group undercuts that, it's a problem. But I don't want to look back now. I want to look forward, because we have an authoritarian taking over our country.
There's actually talk right now. I don't know if the people know it or not, but there's actually talk right now in a design towards separating America in about 5 different divisions. And I actually have people that's telling me that that's a good thing. Well, how can that be a good thing? Because the way I understand the chain of command, that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And united we stand, but divided we fall. And even the Bible supports that, pertaining to the house that's divided against itself will not stand. So how can people think that dividing the country up into 5 different divisions is the solution to our problems? It's beyond my wildest grievances imagination that people actually have been bought in to this ideal. Now, there's no doubt that the state of Texas, they've got the right to secede from the State of the Union because it never was properly done up on the latter end to begin with. But you also got to look at Texas towards their size, towards their economics, towards their agriculture, towards the fact that they have access to the Gulf, and et cetera, with the oil and all the other amenities that goes along with Texas. But not everybody has the same leverage as Texas does. So whenever you get to talking about the separation of 5 different divisions into the country, my friends, you better think this through very, very carefully, because this is basically the way civil wars begins. It's very scary in where we are right now, and I just hope to God that certain federal representatives will understand that, and our goal is to become united and not divided.
On the biggest threat to our Constitution since the Civil War. If we're going to take on the biggest set of forces driving up costs for ordinary Americans, groceries through the roof, electric power going up, certainly health care doubling on average on the exchange. People feel very pressed, and of course President Trump said he would lower costs on day one, and in fact he spent 10 months raising costs, making America poor and sicker, and we have to unite on that and this authoritarian takeover of power.
Yeah, and of course your colleagues who voted for this have said this was the only pragmatic way out of this. They were never going to get those subsidies extended. Can I ask you one question that has been going around among Democrats tonight is whether Senator Schumer is the right leader for your party in the Senate. What do you say?
I am completely focused on our caucus working together and taking on the president. There is one key villain in this story, and that villain is President Trump. He cut the health care benefits in the big, ugly betrayal of a bill in order to fund tax benefits for billionaires. And right now, Caitlin, he is changing the rules on the corporate minimum tax that will, well, it's the estimate is somewhere around in the tens of billions of dollars, probably enough to have paid for the extension of the tax credits. And so he's giving even another gift to the very richest and most powerful Americans. So you cut nutrition for billionaires. You cut health care for billionaires. This is families lose, billionaires win. This is horrific, and it shows you we're under an authoritarian, not under a democracy.
That was notably not a yes. Senator Jeff Merkley, I know we're in the middle of votes tonight. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
Thank you, Caitlin.
And a big question here on Capitol Hill is where this deal goes when it gets to the House. House Speaker Mike Johnson, as we noted, has called the members back. They've only been in session for a total of 20 days over the last 5 months. if you can believe that. Speaker Mike Johnson ended his press conference this morning without answering questions, but he did do several interviews today about how his party plans to make it cheaper for people to go to the doctor. He said this.
I'm not committing to it or not committing to it. What I'm saying is that we do a deliberative process. We've got to bring down the costs, and you can do that in a responsible way that also increases access and quality of care. And we got notebooks full of ideas on how to do that. We're going to do in the House what we always do. That is a deliberative process. We can't find consensus on whatever their proposal is.
And joining me now is my Republican source, a doctor and a senator from Kansas, Senator Roger Marshall, who drew the short straw and is outside with me while Senator Merkley was inside. And thank you for being here with us. I do think there's a big question of John Thune has offered this assurance that there will be a vote at least next month. You just heard Senator Merkley there saying he doesn't really think it's going to go anywhere. But do you think if it does that House Speaker Mike Johnson should bring it up for a vote in the House as well?
I don't know if he should or shouldn't. I want to get locked in on bringing down the cost of health care. Regardless. And I think that's what you're going to see the House doing as well as us doing. We want everyone to have meaningful, affordable access to health care. We want to make people healthy again. And let's talk about how we're going to do that. We're sending $150 billion a year to big insurance companies. Let's take that $150 billion. Let's give a part of that to consumers, to patients, and set up better HSAs for them. Give them more choices out there. Let's expand community health centers where people can get access to more primary care as well. So let's talk about solutions. Like Senator Merkley said, let's focus on the future, and we're ready to get to work.
Okay, so I think some people might say, what is the plan?
Beating the horse at the wrong end is not the solution to the problem. It's going to take a supernatural entity pertaining to the Almighty and the precious Holy Spirit to turn this around. It's going to require a revival if we're ever going to see a true revolution. In the meantime, those that are attempting in trying to fix this problem are only throwing good measure to bad.
Things we can do. These are not new concepts. Speaker Johnson and I have been working on this together for years.
So, well, you've been working on it for years, but is there like a comprehensive plan that people could look at and decide whether or not they think it's something that Republicans should pass?
We'll have something within that when we'll have a side-by-side bill when they come out, when they get their vote on Obamacare subsidies, giving
You're
more.
going to have a health care bill by the second week of December?
We will. We've been working on this very, very hard for several years. And again, Speaker Johnson and I have done one several years ago, but we'll get a new one, getting it together. We're bringing the pieces together just like I discussed. Again, taking $150 billion rather than giving it to big insurance companies. Let's empower patients. Make them consumers again. Let them make the choices that they want to do. The other big piece to the bill, and again, this is already written, you can look it up, it's called our price tags bill, which is going to allow patients before they have that knee surgery done, they can compare one hospital to another, compare the prices and the outcomes.
So you're saying Republicans will have a comprehensive health care plan to vote on when the Senate votes on those extending the subsidies?
Yes, we will.
And it's going to address people who have cancer or pre-existing conditions or don't know what to do if their premiums are spiking at the end of December?
Absolutely. We're going to have to figure some type of a off ramp for people that are over the 400% of income, especially. We got to figure out what to do with them. It's very tough. Again, the insurance companies have put the shaft to American consumers for so long. Our premiums have went up, they doubled since Obamacare care came around, and the insurance companies' values of their stock have went up more than 1,000%.
So you'll vote no on the health care subsidies vote next month, I presume.
Absolutely.
1,000%. 1,000%. Think about that. Now, who's the crooks? Now, who's committing the insurance fraud? Good luck to all of us. God bless America. Here coming up on Veterans Day, the Veterans Day weekend. Just want to thank all the veterans pertaining to the sacrifices that they've made and will make and has made in the past. I just pray that America will stand strong and long pertaining to turning back to the main source that has given us what we got to begin with, which is God Almighty and the Lord Jesus Christ. God bless and shalom.